Hey, this is David Deutsch, and I'm here with Lorrie Morgan, who is a extraordinary copywriter that I have known for many years. We taught the simple writing system, John Carlton's simple writing system together long ago, and she is now teaching it on her own in concert with John Carlton's. And I wanted to just get her take on copywriting. She's had a tremendous background of experience working for different clients, working for different companies as a writer. And maybe you can give us a little bit of like where you've been, what you've done.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So my company's Red Hot Copy, and yeah, I've been a mentee of John's since the early 2000s. That kind of is when my career started taking off. I had some success. I was speaking on some stages and I worked with some big names, but I knew I could be better. And so I ended up hiring John. He got better learning by fire because he is not an easy mentor. He's a rough, rough, tough guy. But he said that's what it takes to get better, was to have someone be honest with you about where the holes are. It really did. It made me get better so much faster. And I also studied a bit with Gary Halbert, not as much, of course. John was my man, and Dan Kennedy. So I have a pedigree. I've been around doing it for not as long as you, David, but I've been for internet marketing. I've started doing this in like the 2000s, and I've been doing it over 20 years. So it's been a long time. I've had my own products, my own events. And the past few years, I've been mostly focused on not doing as much client work, but doing more copy mentoring and copy chiefing and stuff like that. Because I really like making the connections of like how this could be better. Because after a while, you start get an eye for it and you just see stuff so much quicker because you've been exposed to so much different copy and different experiences, that you see things a lot faster, and you certainly see them faster than you see them in your own copy. It always helps to have an experienced set of eyes looking at your stuff.
Yeah. And I think you, like me, believe that most of what's important in being a better copywriter is more of a mindset than it is a bunch of tricks and hacks and formulas to use, right?
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
that's what you, in a way, that's what you learned from John. That's what I've learned from John. What you've learned from
Mhm.
John is that there's money in the prospect's pocket that belongs to me because I've got something that will make his life better. That the money is just an irrelevant pittance for him to pay for me making his life better. And I will
Right.
not rest until that money goes from his pocket to my pocket. And when you go in with that kind of attitude, it changes how you write. You're not writing in a kind of a wimpy, oh boy, it would be nice if you.
Right. It's like his gun to the head approach. Like, you had to make this work. What would you write? What would you say? And
Yeah.
it brings up an energy. One of his other things that he would have us do is to stalk your computer. Like, you get into this like animalistic vibe and you bring your energy, literally, you bring your energy up. So when you start writing words, you make like higher energy choice.
Yeah.
It's strange. It's a little woo sounding, but it's very real.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an art.
Yeah. We always think when we read something like John's copy or we read great copy, we think, oh, they're really good at sitting there and crafting it to make it sound like that. And it's really not
Mm.
like that. What they're really good at is getting that feeling welling up in them and then sitting down, and it just comes naturally. It's not
For sure.
a labored kind of a process.
I mean, it's labor to get there sometimes. There's definitely
Right.
writing is rewriting. It doesn't come out
You have to pay.
like the beautiful prose
Well,
right
that's
out of the bat.
and that's the thing with John too. He'll like just ball it up and throw it away, or tell you to ball it up and throw it away, right?
Oh, yes, he
You've,
does.
you've got to be able to do that. Sometimes I think that's all that separates mediocre writers from great writers, is great writers are just more willing to kill their darling, to
I
take
think that's
copy
true.
they've worked on and throw it away and say, no, my time wasn't wasted. Writing that draft got all the crap, got all the thinking, got all the whatever out of my system.
That's true.
Now I'm ready. Now I've thought it through. I am ready to write this.
I have to remind you of a story you may not remember, but I was actually writing for Agura, not in the house. It was just a freelance gig I got through Agura. And I wrote a sales letter and I ran it by you and a few of the people in our little group. I don't know, Paris, David Garfinkel. I don't remember who all looked at it, but I remember your commentary because you said, don't try to recreate it, start over. And I'm like, damn, I don't want to start over. But that was the best advice I've gotten,
Oh, good.
because it was just, yeah, there was good stuff in there, but to start from a fresh slate after I'd already taken in all the background and the research and stuff, and then start fresh instead of trying to Frankenstein things together, it just was the best
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Didn't want to hear it, but that was,
It is like
that's
It
how
is
it
like
is.
Frankenstein together. It's like a patchwork. It's just
Yes.
this thing of things grafted onto each other that
And
don't,
and it looks like that too
and it
at the
looks,
end. Right? It
unfortunately,
sounds like
in a way, on the word processor, it doesn't look like you cut it out with scissors and pasted
no,
it,
it looks
but it is kind
right.
of like that. Yeah.
It is. It is ultimately. Yeah. It doesn't have the flow as if you just
Yeah.
do it right. Sometimes you just got to kill your darlings and do it right.
I'm
So
thinking
yeah, I
you've
didn't.
learned from, you're like me, right? You've done a lot of different things. And I think you love
Mhm.
working with different people and learning different things. Like you worked at Golden Hippo, Dr.
Yes.
Gundry, Beverly Hills MD, and you must have learned
Yes.
so much from
I
seeing.
learned so much. That was one of my few on-site jobs, actually. And Craig Clemens is an absolute genius. He's the nicest guy, and his copy is incredible. And I know he's paid his dues too. He's worked, I think he's gone through John's system, funny enough, too.
Yeah,
I know he's got a testimonial in there. I learned about really how to source your emails and copy for the first time. Really, I have a journalism degree, but I haven't really used it. This was their medical stuff, like what's in these creams, and then we would have to go and do the research on the National Institute of Health. Like, you don't use or WebMD, you use like real sources with real studies, and then you have to extract that information and kind of mold it into something that's interesting and that a layperson can understand. So that was super fun. Just that, and is a different dimension to use that kind of, is almost like research paper meets copy entertainment kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can tell when copy is written by someone that's got a deeper understanding of it. They're not just being a copywriter and regurgitating. They don't just have a superficial understanding about how skincare works. Like, they know about the epidermis and they know what different things do. And that shows. And then it sounds like it's coming from a doctor, or it sounds like it's coming from an expert.
It absolutely, it's, our jobs are, it's so interesting. Copywriting is such an interesting job because you really do have to put on sort of the clothes and the mindset and the education of these professionals and be able to explain it in layperson's language that's interesting and that's persuasive. It's a big order, but it's fun. It's never boring.
And so we all have this natural ability to persuade, but then we sit down to write. Oh, this, I got to say, I got to say that. And I feel like a lot of what we do is just connect to that thing in yourself that persuades. Just talk to me. And I think that's all connected with, and be happy when you're talking. Be in a good state, be in good health, get your sleep. And your reader will want to listen to you, not because you put this word before this word and use this little copy trick.
Yeah, you hit on an important point as far as getting, well, not just getting your sleep, eating right, and all that, but that being conversational. Sometimes we want to, maybe it's all the English classes and the grammar Nazis and all that, but we freeze in front of the computer instead of it's just talking. And Carlton's really good about that, just saying, like, it's a street salesman or a hustler is probably a better salesperson than an English major. It's about conversation and talking, and that we're doing that barroom exercise where you're sitting at a bar and the prospect is talking to the bartender about their problems and getting into the emotional aspect of it. And so many people in the challenge, and this has been historically, not just this challenge, but always, they'll end up like, they don't quite get the exercise. They'll talk about the problem, but then they want to bring the solution in right away. But it's no, this exercise is about getting into the emotional world of the prospect. So knowing what their fears are and what their buttons are, what keeps them up at night. That's what you really need to uncover to stick in your copy. More the solution comes down the road, But if you don't make the emotional connection, then your copy is going to fall flat.
Yeah,
So
that's really the flip side of you've got to control how you are, right? What state you're in. You've got to control that you're talking to a real person, but you've also got to be aware of who that real person is and what keeps them up. Like Dan Kennedy would say, what keeps them up at night, what they dream about, and what their hot buttons are, or what they're
their fears,
embarrassed about, what their
frustration.
fears are and frustrations. And because sometimes we're really writing to that part of them that their sixth grade teacher said they'd never amount to anything. And their whole goal in life is to prove that teacher wrong.
That's really true. It's funny, in Ian Stanley's mastermind right now, and he's really big into meditations and things like that. And one of the things that he had us do was to do like a group meditation and to go back in time for the first time you felt like ashamed of something. And almost everybody remembered that they were 5 years old. Like almost everybody, they go back that far. And those are the things that we carry with us. And that's what you have to peel the layers off of and connect with in the copy. It's almost kind of universal in a way, even though you have to make adjustments depending on who you're talking to. But that humanity is universal.
This kind of ties into the fact, I think, that when you teach, you're known not just for teaching techniques and how to and better ways to write copy, but also you're like a coach or a therapist for people in terms of their writing copy, which I think is really important because you've got people have mental blocks, they have writer's block,
imposter syndrome,
they have imposter syndrome, and all these things keep people from writing as effectively as they could and being as successful, whether they're marketers or copywriters, that keeps them from achieving what they could achieve. Can you talk about that a little bit, about how you...
You're a father, I'm a mother, so I think there's part of that too. There's a certain amount of empathy that I have for people who want to be good copywriters. It's a very vulnerable profession because you put out your words on paper and people judge you with their wallets. If they're not buying, then something is probably wrong with the copy. There could be something wrong in another place, but I just feel like I'm a very just empathetic person toward what people are going to. But I also am firm that I'm not going to just say this is great so I don't hurt your feelings, because ultimately I want to see people succeed. And I've had some great success stories. People who've worked with me, coaching and mentoring. Pauline Longden was one of my students. Now she's like world class.
She's teaching.
She's teaching, she's mentoring, she's writing, she's like all over the place, speaking on stages. So she's one of my star students. I think I also have a soft spot for people going through imposter syndrome, because I think a lot of us do go through that. We have our self-doubts, and a lot of it is self-imposed. So some of the people I'm mentoring right now, it surprises me. Like I see their work and they're really good, but they don't feel like they are. And I'm able to highlight what's working and look at what they need to look at the same time.
I love your point about feeling bad about people that like we get measured. I find this is so hard for people to understand. I see people that have like normal jobs and they're not being measured to 0.1% about whether their thing beat this other thing, or it didn't get enough of this, or it didn't get as many opens, or it got fewer opens, or it's not getting the ROI.
So true. Or it's all trackable.
It didn't. Yeah. And sometimes I long for the days of when I was in Madison Avenue advertising, and it was just like, did it win an award? Did it not win an award? Did the client like it? We're good.
I know, exactly. Then it's like sometimes it's too much information. There's no shortcut to doing the whole ball of wax.
It comes from that. There's certainly hacks and things are fine to add on afterwards. Oh, this could use a little bit of scarcity technique or
to get you. Like oh yeah. You can't rely on them solely though. You have to be able to connect with the human on the other side of the screen or the paper if they're reading something.
It's got to be a message from the heart to start. Yes. Everything else just falls into place.
Absolutely. And John does such a good job of that with the simple writing system. It's funny, he created this in 2009, and there weren't a whole lot of copywriting systems out there at the time. And he did such such a good job of breaking down what it takes into the lessons and then building on it. Like you do this first and then you do this next. And one lesson just
Right.
grows from the one before. So yeah, he did a brilliant job with that.
And it's
So
been revised since then. And he had
Oh,
the
yeah.
advantage of being able to revise it based on all the people that went through the actual coaching of the program based on the videos, and to see, okay, this works, okay, we need this now. And so it's
Right.
evolved over the years, you know.
It has evolved. But what's interesting, just to point out, the technology is always going to change, but the psychology is not. And it's very slow changing. Even if there's flashy new apps and cool stuff like that, it doesn't really matter if you don't have the good content. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you have crappy content, it's not going to
Ability to
work.
sell is timeless. The ability to persuade
Yeah.
with words, whether they're a script of a YouTube video or it's a print
Facebook ad, print ad, all of it.
whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Even verbally. A lot
Yeah,
of times, I'm
that's
sure
true.
you have too. We'll write scripts for clients for telemarketing or salespeople.
Yes.
Or whatever, because it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That leads us to the course, the Simple Writing System course, which for people who don't know is, as we say, it's something that John has evolved over so many years. And it's, I think one of the things that makes it so powerful is that it's always had this live coaching component to it.
I agree. That makes all the difference in the world than just looking at a program. Just when you actually get to put your work up there and then have a professional look at it and go, why don't you try this or try that and switch this up? That is definitely the differentiator.
Yeah, I think that's so important because you can't be your own doctor and you can't be your own lawyer and you can't tickle yourself. You'll never get rid of the bad habits because invariably you've still got those bad habits because you can't see them and you don't know how to get rid of them. So it takes someone saying, no, stop doing that. Here's what you should be doing instead. And then maybe it's a second time and they say, no, you're still doing it. Stop doing it. And then finally you get it. That's one of the things that kind of personal coaching things does, is it really enables you to see the things that you can't see that are holding you back.
Yeah. It does. And I said there's no shortcuts and there aren't really to doing it, but it does get you there faster because you have somebody showing you like, oh, I should look for all the that's and see if they should be in this copy or not. You know how you can eliminate the word that a lot of times. Something's that simple and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm going to put that in my toolkit and little things that can smooth out your copy. Or I'm repeating the same word. I'm saying passion over and over again. Let's find some other words and things that we don't notice until they're pointed out. And then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And sometimes there's stuff like that, right? Like syntactical kinds of things. And sometimes they're almost more of a general thing of not getting specific enough, like always dancing around things, never getting granular about things, which gives a copy of vagueness that is a little bit off-putting.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. There's all these layers and layers of subtle little, I want to say tricks, but just, subtle techniques, subtle devices that you need with copy. And when you have a professional like me, who's been doing it for so many years, it just integrates naturally. And it's funny. I'm gonna take this back to horseback riding. So I have horses. I have my hat, but we have 5 horses. I've been riding horses my whole life. I'm not a great rider, but I always thought I was a pretty good rider. But giddy up, I thought I was a pretty good rider because I was on horses that were very broke, and then I got a horse that is not as broke. And he bucked me off. And I was like scared to death. This was a few months ago. I was scared to death to get on any horse because I'm like, oh my God, they're mean. They can kill you. They're strong. They're not all like old nags like I'm used to. But what came out of it was I realized that I needed to get better and I needed a professional to help me get better. I couldn't train myself to be a better rider. I can look at YouTube videos, but it's not the same as having somebody actually train me to do it. And so I'm making like all these little subtle adjustments. And anyway, the whole point is sometimes you need somebody they've done it for so long that it's second nature to them to help you get to the next level. And that's
Right.
what I believe the simple writing system does.
Just from a purely physics point of view, right? You can't pull yourself.
Yes, that's
You
right.
can't. Someone that's like a level above you, they can grab your arm and pull you up and say, here's how to get up here. Let me grab your
That's
arm and
right.
pull you. And then
Yeah,
you're there and you go, oh, this is what it's like up here.
exactly. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great
I mean, I feel
analogy.
like that's what we do, is,
Mm,
and of course
I love it.
it's fun for us. It's interesting for us because we learn in a way, right? We learn
Always, always.
articulating things and teaching people things and seeing, oh, look what they're doing. They're not being specific enough. Maybe I still do that sometimes. I've got to look out for that, in my own
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah. It is a constant back and forth of learning because you remember things that, like you said, you may not notice in your own writing. And that's why I continue to have mentors, and I'm in masterminds, and I get my work critiqued too at every level. I think it's harder and harder to find people who can critique it, but we're lucky enough to have a group of people that we can
Right.
rely on, but everybody doesn't have that.
That is in sports.
Yeah.
Like one would tend to think if someone gets good enough, they don't need a coach. But Tiger Woods has a coach. All Major
Yes.
League Baseball players have tons of coaches.
Yeah, that's right.
At the
right.
highest level of sport, you need a coach because you can't see what
That's very true. That's a really good point.
and that's what this is. This is an
Yeah.
opportunity in a way for people to get coaching that's frankly hard to get.
Yeah.
Costs
Good
you some
coaching
money.
is hard to get. Suddenly everybody's hanging out signs and saying, I'm a copywriter, or they've been doing
Right.
it for a few months, and suddenly they're copywriting coaches. So you've got to be cautionary with who you trust to help you with that, because that it can actually go very badly if you get some like wet behind the ears copywriter giving you bad advice.
And I think also the problem with that sometimes is that you get limited advice. Like they may be really good at doing supplement promotions, or they may be really good at screamy internet marketing promotions. It's not like you, where you've done supplement promotions and you've done health and you've done investing and you've done so many different kinds of things for so many different clients that.
Yeah, I do survival stuff, women's things, guns, supplements, health, erectile dysfunction. I've probably done just about everything, just like you. I'm sure you have an arsenal of
You learn different things from each thing. You learn something selling supplements, or you learn something selling coaching.
Yeah.
I've learned so much from doing fundraising. There's a time when I did a lot of fundraising stuff. And when you don't sell anything except a good feeling by handing over money, it kind of sharpens your skills a little bit. I think that was something Clayton said, Makepeace said about what he learned from doing fundraising. That was like his first introduction to copywriting. And
wow, that's a tough thing.
How you sell anything, right? You learn, you take persuasion skills from that. You take copy skills. You even take marketing stuff.
Sure.
Because especially these days, a lot of our job as copywriters is marketing too.
Yeah, it's consulting too. A lot of times when someone hires you, they want to know that you can advise them on the best way to make their copy work hard for them. Yeah, we have to know, wear a lot of hats and stay up to date on that.
Maybe you don't need a VSL. Maybe you need a sales funnel of a bunch of emails going to this, or telemarketing, or
exactly. It's more than one way to skin a cat, and we have to know several different ways.
Especially today, where there's so many alternatives and so many different ways of doing things.
But I'll tell you, to me, the most bang for your buck is always going to be to know how to do a long form sales letter, because that can be morphed into just about anything. Like you have everything on that one document, and you can make it into a YouTube video. You can shorten it into Facebook ads. You can make emails out of it. There's so many things, but once you master how to do that long form sales letter, you can really write your own ticket. You can do just about any kind of copy.
And that long form sales letter could be a long form sales page. It could be read and turned into a VSL or print, and you can take the essence of it. Once you've done that, then you know how to pitch that product.
Exactly. because that's about as deep as you can get, is to get to, you hit all those stops in that kind of style, and then abbreviating it comes easier. But yeah, you got that knowledge.
So how does this simple writing system work? If people are interested in it, what would they experience? What would they expect from it?
It's interesting because this is the first time. I'm so excited about this version of it. We've never done it like this before, but we're making it into more of a mentorship program, like a year-long support on every level that you need as a copywriter. So the simple writing system itself is, I forget how many lessons. I think there's 18 lessons that John has broken down of how he writes the kind of winning copy that he's known for.
Right.
And so you go through each one of those exercises, you submit those exercises to me on a forum, and then I'll go in and critique it, give you my feedback. And then we'll just keep working it back and forth until you're happy, we're both happy with that particular exercise. And then you can move on to the next one, and they build onto each other. And then at the end, you put everything together and you make your long form sales letter, which is basically like Legos. Like, you've made chunks of it. Like, here's your offer, here's your testimonials, here's your opening, here's your headline. And then you stack it together and make it flow, build in the transitions. And I'm there with you every step of the way to make sure that works for you. So that's what it is, creating your sales letter with me for the most part. And these are really small classes. So I believe
people a lot, and you're not just, oh, that looks good.
I
Right?
do.
You're really,
I get in there. It's my own work. I do. I get in there. I love this stuff. I love helping other people do this. And I literally like tingle when I'm working with people on this level. So it's super fun for me. So it's selfish. So I enjoy it, but that's how that goes. So you write your sales copy, and then for the rest of the year, you can continue to do the simple writing system again if you want. Maybe you got hired by a client and you want to run your client's copy through this simple writing system. You're welcome to do that as many times as you like throughout the year. You'll also get 2 video critiques. Like, you're done with your sales letter, I will video critique it line by line and tell you where you can smooth things out, if you need to move things around and make it stronger. So that's for 2 critiques. If you were to hire me, it'd be $2,700 for me to do 1 critique. And so you're getting 2 of those. So that's just one of your bonuses. You also are going to get 12 calls every month. We get on a Zoom call like we're doing, and you can ask me anything about, this is where I can be the copy therapist. You can, if you have imposter syndrome, you can talk to me about, how do you set up your business? How do you get clients? How do you charge? How do you set up contracts? Any of that. Or if you have copy that you want me to look at, bring that to the call. It doesn't matter. It's your time. So we do that 12 times a year. And we also, to get people's careers off, because that's a separate thing. Writing is one thing, business is another thing. So to teach you how to get your career going, we have 4 career calls a quarter to help you set up your office and find a VA if you need it, or whatever it is that you need. And you also are going to get these 2 books. I love them both. I have them both. One is John's freelance guide, how to set up your freelance business. He took that off the market. The other guide is one that I did with Dan Kennedy. It's not my guide, it's Dan Kennedy's guide. I interviewed Dan about how to run a business, and it's eye-opening. And that is also,
I can vouch for that. I have that. I got that as soon as it
you
came out.
do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Everyone who's seen it, which I'll be honest, I'm horrible at marketing it. I just didn't market it. I just sat on it. So now this is how you can get it, because it's not on the free market right now.
So
I know Harlan Kilstein took this, Justin Goff took it. They also, it's an amazing program for building your business. So we're going to go through that part of it too. So you're not only learning to write, but you're learning how to make a business out of it.
So is it mainly for copywriters, or is it also for business people that write copy themselves and hire copywriters?
That's a great distinction. That's a great distinction. It is for both. I've always believed that business owners should be able to write their own copy in a pinch. It's just such a great skill to have to get your messaging out. It's for copywriters or any kind of freelancers or business owners who recognize the power of copy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because certainly when I was teaching it way back in the day, a lot of the people were business owners that wrote their
Yeah,
own copy
they're
and
smart.
hired people. They are smart because they know the product and they're passionate about it. And then you don't have to deal with us crazy copywriters. I think another thing that a business owner learning copy is that it makes them a better buyer of copy. Like now, when someone hands in copy to
That's
you,
true.
you can say, oh, you're not doing this. You're not doing this. I need you to do this. Here's an idea for this. Instead of, I don't
That's
know, I
true.
just don't like it. I'm not feeling it.
I think that a lot. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I hadn't thought of that as as another reason, but for sure.
So people get both. They get the videos of John teaching the simple writing system, to see John in action teaching these things, and then to
I
have an
know.
opportunity to try it yourself, to do it, and to have someone like you to say, okay, here's what you've gotten. This is good. Here's what you're not getting. Try it again and try it like this, so that you
Yeah,
really are sure you get each lesson and really get the most
exactly.
from it. It's just, and
It
I
brings it to life, really. It brings
really
John to
does,
life.
because I've always been surprised. I mean, there have been some things where I've taken like a course or something and then gotten a chance to talk to the person. And then it was like, I'm always amazed at nuances that I missed,
Yeah.
or little things that aren't in the thing sometimes, right? Just little
Yeah,
nuances of it, or little, I guess it's just nuances.
I think that's the perfect word for it. It's just
Yeah.
so it's hard to put your finger on unless you've got miles under your belt, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the
And
fastest way.
I love the idea of the Zoom calls, which weren't a part of
Mm.
it until now. Because it's one thing
Yeah,
to exchange on the forum, you post and you get your great feedback, but to have the chance to get someone like you to say, look, this is where I'm stuck. This is where I feel like an imposter, or I'm having trouble with openings or coming up with ideas or whatever it is. And
yeah.
exchange like that. And what an
It
opportunity
really
that is.
is that to actually have some flesh and blood interaction. It just adds another dimension that I think is a good thing. I think it was missing, and I'm so happy that we put this in. It'll always be in from now on, as far as I know. We're going to always have that sort of that live interaction too. And these calls are not going to be broadcast; they're private, and they will be
Right.
recorded. But you can also privately contact me if there's something you don't want to put out in the ethers. Let me know, and we'll work something out via email or something. And I'm totally fine with that. I'm very supportive of the people who are in under my wing. I'm like a mother hen that way, and just I'm gonna take care of you and be there. And I'm different things for different people, and it truly is like a copy therapist. And I'm giving you life skills at the same time: how to build your business, how to emotionally deal with issues that come up, how to find clients, and how to write copy.
And that's
It's
important when
it's
you're a
like a
writer.
college, it's like going to university.
Yeah. The emotional element is so important when you're a writer, because it's such an isolating field. Like you
Isolated,
said, it's such a
yes.
judged field. You're constantly being evaluated.
And you're judging yourself too.
You're
So
judging
it's
yourself. Clients are judging
yeah.
you. Prospects are judged. They're buying. They're not buying. Right.
Mhm.
You're being judged by your readers who are clicking away or not. And it's easy to get discouraged, right? It's easy to get discouraged even
Yeah, it
by
is.
when you try to get better and get the feedback that you need to get better. It's easy to get discouraged by that. So having that support was just so important, and
Yeah,
realizing
it
that you're
is.
not going to get better unless you really know how to get across that gap of where you are to where you want to be. You got to see
Mhm.
what you're not doing in between, right?
Agreed. Yeah,
Because sometimes it
definitely.
can be painful. Sometimes people will say,
Yes.
I think I'm getting worse at copywriting since I started working with you. Because I look at my copy now and I see like it's boring, and I see that it's not very interesting and it's not very compelling. And I said, great, that's the first step, right?
That
Is you've got
is.
to see the reality of the situation. And now you're starting to see that your copy is boring. And now we can work at making it not be boring. But before, you couldn't even
Exactly.
see that it was boring. Like, what progress?
That's a great point. That's really
Yeah.
true. And then it starts to come together. It's always, we want to be perfect, but you can't be perfect without making some mistakes. You don't. I have a grandson that we're babysitting today, and he's learning to crawl, and it's just, you got to crawl before you walk, before you run, that kind of thing. And I'm watching him, and he's making this, he's overcompensating and falling over, and then he's going too fast one way, and it's finally he works it out, and now he's
Yeah.
scooting all over
Yeah.
the place. So it's the same with copy. You just make adjustments, minor adjustments, forward and forward, and you get
And
better.
the idea of a kid and learning to walk or whatever is like such a great image, because if the kid falls down, they're not like, oh God darn, I'm never going to be able to walk. This is hard.
That's
They
right.
just get up and try it again. I'm gonna.
Over and over. Hopefully it won't take that long for the copy part.
There will be no crying involved, right?
I hope not.
A minimum.
I'm much more gentle than I'm more gentle than John, but I'm firm. So it's,
Well,
yeah, John had me in tears a few times. I've tried not to get people crying.
It's hard. It's hard to. It's in a way. It's like what do they call it? Barrier to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's hard.
yeah.
It's not just something you can say, I want to get better as a copywriter. I'm going to read I'm going to read a lot of books, right? To put yourself in a position like this course, right? The simple writing system, to learn from John, and then to learn from you and be guided and be prodded and be even scolded, or hey, that's how you get better.
It is.
Kind of going to the gym in a way.
Oh yeah, it is. That's right.
The matter with you? What are you, weakly? Do those push-ups. You can't. Come on, 10 more.
Exactly.
You're not going to do 10 more on your own, right? You're going to do 10 more.
No.
Shouting at you to do, encouraging you. You can do it. I know you can do it. I know you have it in you. Come on. And it's the same thing with copy.
It is. It also is the same. That analogy works for building a muscle too, because the more you're immersed in it, the better you're going to get at it. And in this case, you'll have a whole year to continually get better at the craft and at building a business at the same time. We're very open in this year about whatever you need to get your business solidly off the ground. And
is the
and
equivalent
stronger if it already is going.
And is the equivalent for marketers, like showing them how to systematize copy and to find copywriters? Because that's hard nowadays, finding copywriters.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But what's cool, this isn't really a guarantee or an advertised thing, but this is just a personal thing. I have a huge network of copywriters that I know personally. For people who need copywriters, if you are a copywriter and I've trained you and I watch you work, I also have potential clients. I know how to run funnels, how to write funnels, and how to set those up. So if that's something that needs to happen, that's something I can show you how to do as well. I don't think we've mentioned that I used to work for Copy Accelerator with Stefan Georgi and Justin Goff and Stanley's mastermind group. I know everybody. So that's not a guarantee to the program, but it doesn't hurt to have access to my Rolodex if we are working closely together.
I think it's both having access to your Rolodex is where you've talked about it, but also knowing, like Stefan Georgi, his template for it's a great template for the research and some of his the paradoxical question and stuff like that. So if someone comes to this and says, hey, how does that fit in with this? How does what John says about this fit in with what Stefan says about this? You can help them integrate, I think, a lot of things together.
That's a good point. I absolutely.
And Dan Kennedy is like a wealth of
not
just copywriting, but the business of copywriting.
Yeah, he's a big mindset believer too, as is John Carlton. And you, I think most people who get to a certain level are very aware that the mindset is very important. So you get that kind of support with the simple writing system. It's the simple writing system on steroids. It's not your old simple writing system, which was great to begin with, but this is 2.0.
I know you're a big believer in just giving so much of yourself to the people that you coach and the people that you work with, that you're just the perfect person to be giving them support that they need in many ways. But
I appreciate that. That is very true. I'm a very genuine person who's been around a long time and knows a lot about this stuff. So yeah, it's an honor to be able to share this information.
Yeah. So we'll have a link to how to get more information about the simple writing system, but it's davidldeutsch.com/SWS. We set
For
up
simple writing system.
for simple writing
SWS.
system. And
Awesome.
be sure and
Thanks,
spell.
David. It's always good to hang out with you.
Yeah, you too. I always enjoy talking to you. All right. So thank you. Thanks for coming on, for talking
thank you,
about
David.
copywriting and talking about what you're doing with the simple writing system.
You've got it. Thanks so much, David.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too.